But basically, like I said, you can kind of just go into it. We'll kind of bounce back and forth, but this is just like a quick way for you to introduce yourself, talk about your gym a little bit too, and then I'll kind of ask you personal questions, and then we'll see kind of where the conversation pretty much takes us. So whenever you're ready, the floor is yours.
Cool. Well, thanks so much for having me on, Steph. I know we connected at the Business of Strength Summit a little while back and just like hit it off right away because we have a lot of things in common with our approach to how we work with our clients and particularly women. So I'm really excited to talk about that with you today. But just a quick background on myself. I'm based in Wilmington, Delaware. I co-own a small group personal training studio, myself and my husband. And we just relocated into a brand new space, Concord Pike in Wilmington. So we're loving it and working with a lot of the 40 and over population. And we also train athletes as well, kind of similar to Varsity House. So we have like the two different dynamics to who we work with.
So how did you pretty much start? Like where was the beginning of your story to now? What made you want to be a gym owner and go from training, basically you train all women. So what made you want to do all that? Because I don't know the full story. So this is the time for me to get to know you a little bit more.
Yeah, I love it. That's a great question. And just traveling back in time. So I started strength training back when I was in 8th grade. And I was super lucky because I was so into sports and basketball at the time that there was a guy who started training out of like a Catholic school, literally a classroom that he just set weights up in. And my dad heard about it and he's like, I think this will help you with basketball. So I started back then and I was a super shy and quiet kid and it helped me like really come out of my shell. So strength training was kind of always a part of my life going through like those difficult teenage girl years where you're kind of like a little unsure about yourself and like confidence and things like that. So it was a huge backbone to my journey to allow me to now like be a business owner and feel like I can lead a group and lead a business. And I just know like the work that I put in is going to pay off into something on the back end. So that's kind of where it stemmed from.
Yeah. And then your husband, was that like in the mix from when you first met him, or did you guys were just kind of like, okay, this is what we're gonna do? Like, how did that conversation come about for you guys as like a unit? Because you guys are a team. So how did that really come about?
Yeah. So his background was also in like strength and conditioning. So he was actually more like knee deep in the field when we first met. So we actually met, we were both in college. I was still playing basketball. He was an assistant coach of a team that my team was playing.
Oh,
So he's like a grad assistant. So he was like strength training a lot of teams at his school, Goucher College in Maryland. So he was like already doing the strength coach thing when I was still an athlete. And then like post college, you know, he was a strength coach at a bunch of different schools, like interning at like Temple, University of Delaware. We were in Spain for a little while together where he was a strength coach. I was still playing. When an opportunity popped up, one of his connections, like an AAU basketball team director said, hey, Val, like I have a space in the gym that we're opening up. Do you want to like come in and run your business out of there?
yeah.
And I was like, yes, like we need to do this. And he was a little hesitant, like, oh, I'm not really sure, kind of like where we're at now. I'm like, no, like we have to do this. This is like what we want to do and grow something together. So that's where we ended up where we are now.
Oh, that's so fun. So how long have you owned the business for?
So it just hit its like 4-year anniversary mark this June. So I feel like we finally caught our stride of like the first couple years, you're not really sure what you're doing. And it's a lot of like figuring out the marketing piece and the business piece and understanding it's not just the coaching. So we're starting to figure it out now at year 4.
And you only train women. So what made you want to go in that direction? And like, you know, why are you, or do you, that question, and also do you get men inquiring about the gym, or it's kind of just like everybody knows, oh, this is a all women gym?
So we actually aren't strictly all women. We're like 80% women.
Okay.
Currently. So I know we put out a lot.
You guys put a lot of content, like
yes,
women only.
We do, just because I feel like, at least in my area, there's not a lot of spaces where women can go and feel like there's a space for them to like learn how to strength train. So we do put out a lot of content related to that, but Yeah, we have some men that come in. It's mainly like like the wife comes in first and trains, and then the husband sees the wife's feeling better and then wants to like hop in as well. But we just seem to attract women because I'm definitely more of an expert on the women's health side of things. And women, and I'm interested to hear your experience, but I'm having more calls and conversations with women coming to me saying like, I know strength training is important. I'm 55. I've never done it before in my life. Like, can you help me figure out how to do it? I don't feel comfortable going into like a Planet Fitness, doing it on my own. Like, are you starting to see that now too?
Oh my God, so much. Which is great. We could definitely deep dive into this conversation. It's a lot of that and perimenopause, menopausal women that have been going through a lot of hormonal issues. And there's also been a fluctuation of pregnant women that have been coming in, which is really interesting. I had gotten my like CEU in postpartum fitness and during pregnancy fitness from NASM. So for whatever reason, when that happened, it was just a influx of women that have been like, oh, I want to strength train during pregnancy. How do I go about it? And I just recently had gotten that certification, and I was, oh, okay, I could see how this goes. It's like one after the other, and then more women were inquiring. So it's like twofold. It's that side, and then it's the women over 40, 50, 60 that have maybe never weight trained in their life, and they just hear things now more than I feel like they ever had in like a really long time. It's because when I was growing up, it was never like, oh, women need to strength train. It was, well, women need to do cardio and stay slim and skinny. Now it's, hey, if you want to live longer and feel better and, you know, not feel like your bones are going to collapse, like maybe weight training is the best option for women over the age of 40. But I've been getting a lot of those women, and especially the nutrition side of it too, which I'm sure you've gotten as well. You know, what a lot of women are going through at the moment is they can't really lose weight at like a certain amount of like speed compared to when they did when they were in my age bracket, which is like my obviously the late 20s. So I'm going through a lot of that, and women thinking that, which we could just literally dive into too, with people under eating and thinking that they'll lose weight because they're not eating enough, and it's a whole stigma. I think you just posted something about this too with protein importance, which is huge. So you could kind of touch base on me yapping back and forth.
Thoughts on, yeah, just like nutrition and patterns I see with women. I know I definitely wanted to get into like the InBody with you too, because I know you guys use that, which would be super cool to talk about. But as far as like protein needs, under eating, like what I always tell women is the average woman eats 68 grams of protein a day, and we really need like at least 100 plus, like, and that's even just like bare minimum. And I know you're really big on this too, and like educating people on the importance and just like being really intentional and mindful about it. And I do find tracking helpful, at least for like a week or two, so women kind of get like a sense of what that looks like, because you might think you're getting a lot in and you're really not. But it's funny, like I'll have people tell me all the time, like, I had a really hard workout yesterday and I'm not sore. Like, do you think it's because of the protein? I'm like, yeah, probably. Like, you've been working really hard to get it in. Like,
oh my
it
gosh,
definitely works. But yeah, it's funny. What types of conversations do you have when it comes to that stuff?
I mean, it's so hard to talk to women sometimes because we're all pretty much sometimes stuck in our ways of what we've been doing for however long. So there's a good amount of women that I've seen that, you know, they just stick to the same foods that they're eating. They're not going to change anything that they're eating. And they're like, oh, I feel like I'm eating a lot, and they're not eating enough at all. I think it comes down to just trying to explain, especially like tying into the InBody scale too, because that's really important for us too. But seeing, you know, their muscle mass increasing in percentage wise to their body weight, explaining that, hey, if your muscle goes down in pounds, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're losing muscle. It just means that your body's trying to equate to where your overall body weight is, which is a whole conversation in itself for all these women. They're like, we're losing muscles. And no, you're not. You're losing 10 to 15 pounds. You're not going to stay at 70 pounds of muscle. It's going to decrease, but your muscle percentage is going to go up. There's a lot of those different types of conversations. But I feel like the nutrition stuff can be touchy for a lot of people. And having my background in it, it's trying to navigate it and making sure that people feel comfortable talking to me about it, because I obviously have the weight loss journey on my belt, so it's easier for me to speak to those women, especially just being like, hey, you know, I've been there too. I was scared of food too. I thought there was bad foods and good foods too, but at the end of the day, if you're portion controlling, nothing matters as far as that goes. It's just seeing things from eye to eye and understanding where they're coming from, because a lot of them have binging issues or they just don't want to eat. The whole intermittent fasting thing is a huge thing that people are talking about by us, or just fasting in general. We're gonna fast for 24 hours. Like, dude, you don't need to be doing all that. You just have to feel like it's all a cycle where you're gonna spiral eventually, and then you're gonna start doing a lot of this, which I feel like a lot of times during the challenges it'll happen where people don't see the change right away, and then they get frustrated and they're like, screw this, I'm not doing this anymore. And then they'll go drink, and then they'll go do other things, and then they blame the actual meal plan for not working when it's not. It's their habits that are inquiring all about that. So I always feel like I'm getting to a point where I'm almost talking to a wall sometimes with them, and it's so aggravating. Just like, just listen to me. There's a woman that one of her success stories, which is phenomenal. She came in at 43% body fat when she first started at the gym. She was 60. Yeah, she was 60. She's like, I don't know why I can't lose weight. And I remember telling her, if you start training, well, she never was training. She was an athlete growing up, and then she was active, and then COVID hit. And, you know, I'm sure you've gotten thousands of people telling you that. So COVID hit, and either it went like really well for some people, or it went absolutely horrific for other people. So she was one of those women that basically said, I gained all this weight, and now I feel uncomfortable in my own skin, and I really want to get back into it, but I'm nervous going into a gym, which we could obviously talk about too. And I used to hate going to the gym because it used to just intimidate me. And that's why with like a 80% women community for you, I feel like is so empowering, because there's not a lot of gyms that are like that, especially like a semi-private small group type of style. And having women that are almost going through the same exact thing, it makes life easier to not like try to sell the place, but more just trying to understand, like, everybody's going through the same thing. You know, you'll feel more comfortable being here because we got your back. Everybody has your back here. That's what I try to kind of reinforce with our gym, because it's definitely intimidating when you first look on the outside coming in. You're like, oh shit, this is like athletic. This is so intense. It's like, no, it's not. We're just gonna go around what you can do. And when we had the conversation, I just told her, like, 6 weeks, just lock in, just give me 4 days that you can come in each week. And she didn't lose a lot of weight during the challenge, but she lost, for the year, she lost 50 pounds. And she went from 43% to 27, which is insane. Because now I look at that. She's 61 years old.
Yeah.
She's in incredible shape. And in her brain, she doesn't think like that. She's still saying to herself, like, I'm still like this. I'm like, shut up.
Yeah.
We're literally, you don't even look like the same person when you first step through the door.
Yes.
But it's insane, because somebody in their 60s, when I tell these women that are coming in, like, oh, I'm 60, my metabolism is slow, I can't lose weight, I just explain to them, like, it's not that. She came from nothing, doing nothing. All she did was patience and consistency and just following whatever I'm telling her to do.
Yep.
And the protein thing is such a big key conversation, because not a lot of women know that they need to be eating so much protein. They think it's a lot. It's like 60 grams is nothing. That's right. Like one, that could be 2 meals, like minimum 2 meals. So that's kind of where I'm at. And I would love to hear kind of what you've been hearing on your end too. And obviously with sticking to like a women clientele, you know, the intimidation behind going to a gym, like, how do you go about that in that process for your, you know, you guys?
Well, I love your approach of telling stories of like other success that women similar to them have had, because I know, like, I tell them, like, you're going to feel nervous. Every single person that comes in for their first session, you're nervous. You might even be terrified, but I'm like, you're going to come in. It's going to be Tracy, Ann, and Becky, and their moms just like you. They're just trying to come in, move a little bit more, get a little bit healthier, feel a little bit better. So I try to talk them through that piece a lot. But I do think, like, when it comes to the nutrition side of things, we're fighting the uphill battle of like what women have been marketed to do for so long, right? Of like, just do some more cardio, eat less, and then you'll lose weight. But I personally hate the scale. Like, I think throw out your scale, like take it to the trash.
They should have
And forget about it, because if you're not getting the deeper picture of the body composition, like I'm getting a lot of people on GLP-1s now, and my first conversation with them is like, have you had your muscle mass tested? Like, do you know where you started? Because you're having all this great weight loss, which I'm sure is benefiting your health. But if 40% of the weight loss is coming from muscle, which the research shows, like, we're actually digging potentially a bigger hole to get out of. Because when I hear the word metabolism and I have a slow metabolism, what that issue really is higher body fat, lower muscle mass, and then the body's fighting against itself constantly. Versus if I have higher muscle mass, lower body fat ratio, suddenly I can eat more foods, I have more energy, like I'm doing the things I love, I'm feeling really strong doing it, and it's not this constant like uphill battle versus the scale. So that's the conversation I have every single day, is the body composition conversation around like just reframing the whole mindset to like, what can I gain versus what can I lose type of thing.
It comes to when you guys review the InBody scale, do you get a lot of women that are like, they look at that number, that body composition number, the muscle mass, and they get like frustrated that they're not losing weight? Or is it more they're focused on the body fat? Because I'm trying to reiterate to everybody, the body fat percentage number is like the most important to me. No matter what, if you're losing weight but you're not losing body fat, for me, I'm like, what are you doing? You know, it's your body clearly needs protein. It clearly needs certain things. You know, we could go into conversation about creatine, because I was just talking about this today with some of the women. Like, do I need to be taking this? It's like, you should. Yeah, you can take it. You know, my mom takes it. She barely works. You know, she's in the other room, but she barely works out. But she takes creatine. But as far as the nutrition stuff, I feel like it's definitely battling social media and what they were told when they were growing up, because we're dealing with the generation that's over 40, which I'm sure you are too. And you have athletes too, so it's two different worlds. Like, they're focused on influencers and how they look, and they want to look like them. And then the adult generation is, you know, hey, this is how we were taught and told our whole lives. Like, why? Like, what do we have to change? You know?
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah, I would say like biggest things I talk through with people on the InBody is I'll always like circle the lean muscle mass. I'm like, all right, we want to build this up, but it's going to take a little longer. Like, it's going to take some work. We got to be consistent. I'll definitely focus on body fat percentage. And if someone's being consistent, like at the 6-week check-in, they might lose up to 3% body fat. Like, if they're sticking to 2-3 times a week, like doing stuff on the nutrition side, like, I think it's motivating. I see them be motivated by seeing that number move like relatively quickly. And same thing with like the visceral fat. So we try to keep a close eye on that one too, just to, you know, show them their progress. Like, they're working their ass off in the gym. So want to like emphasize the results, which I know you guys do a really good job of too, with tracking the data.
Yeah, it's very important. And then, you know, when women come into the battle is also mental health in a way, because a lot of them are not in a good place. So, you know, navigating that, how do you feel like you help clients unlearn those toxic beliefs that they have about food and body image? Like, what direction do you go with that conversation? Because it can be touching for a lot of people, because everybody that comes in through the door, especially women, they all have a story. It could be the same exact thing too, because a lot of them are like, you know, I had kids and I never prioritized myself, and now I want to put myself first, but I don't start and it doesn't feel right, and they feel selfish. Like, what's your take on that? How do you feel like you help clients with those topics?
Yeah, we always get into that in like our initial roadmap meeting. Like, before we even throw them into a workout, we're sitting down. I'm talking with them one-on-one for 30 minutes. Sometimes it turns into an hour.
Yep.
A lot of times the tissues come out and we're just like bonded, like by the end of that conversation.
Right.
Because I feel like for a lot of people, it's the first time that they got a chance to just sit down, talk about themselves, their issues, run it by like someone like ourselves who like have the expertise on the nutrition and fitness side. And I mean, I like to go slow with people and just say like, all right, maybe the first meeting, we're literally just focusing on getting you in here 2 days a week, and I don't want you to focus on anything else. And I start to see the trickle effect outside of the gym happen when for the first time they feel like, oh, I committed to something and I like actually stuck to it. And then next thing you know, they're building up the confidence to commit to something on the nutrition side and actually sticking to it.
Right.
Because most of the conversations I have, I feel like they have all the information. Like nowadays, people, it is confusing. Like you'll hear certain things are good, certain things are bad, but like for the most part, people kind of know what they're supposed to do. They just have that gap between knowing and actually doing it. So my approach is always just to try to build up the confidence in themselves that they know, like, I can actually stick to something. I can actually prioritize this. It doesn't have to come after work, kids, every single other thing on the list.
Right. And also, I've gotten a lot of times where I just had a conversation with the lady this morning, and I didn't grill her in like a negative way, but she's like, oh, I have to take like a summer break from the gym. And I was like, why? She's like, oh, you know, my kids have all these things. I mean, you can't spare an hour of your day to come here. She's like, oh, well, you know, I have to drive them here. I'm like, yeah, no, I get it.
Yeah.
But an hour? I mean, you come at 7 o'clock in the morning. Your kids are not even probably up at 7 o'clock in the morning during the summertime. Like it's all prioritizing themselves, which they don't tend to do, which is it comes down to not getting frustrated in a sense of getting mad at them, but frustrated in a sense that I want to keep helping them, but there's sometimes that you can't help them because they're not seeing things from the perspective of, oh, but I'm doing right by them, but they're not doing right by themselves too. In a way, they don't think an hour of their day they can like give from, you know, the whole day. They don't feel like they deserve it to come to the gym, which is so crazy. Because the same thing with another woman too, like two of them during the challenge, they paid for it, they never showed up.
Yeah,
like they had to go take their kids everywhere. It's like, dude, 1 hour, you told me 1 hour, but you can't force it. And I think I get very, not emotionally attached, but I get frustrated because why are you not listening and doing it? Like, you're spending your money on this. Like, where do you feel like your frustrations lie with that stuff? Because for me, I get aggravated with people, with the women mainly. If we're sticking to this topic, it's just women not prioritizing themselves, and then they wonder why they're so stressed and why their hormones are out of balance and why they're eating like shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I can relate to that 1,000% because it is very frustrating when you're like, I know I can help you. Like, if you follow the process, I know I can help you. And I do also like the tactic of like a schedule audit. I'm like, okay, let's talk through your week. Like, and sometimes that's like, not always, but sometimes that's all it takes, where someone's like feeling overwhelmed and it's like, okay, well, let's like freaking figure out a plan here, because there is an hour somewhere. Like, let's be real. I think I did the math. Like, it's like less than 2% of your week, not including like hours you sleep. Yeah. So it's something crazy. So it's just that mental block. But yeah, I mean, I have to deal with that a lot too emotionally, around like knowing that I can help someone, but they have to at least take a step in that direction. Like, I can't force someone to buy in, but I have been practicing a lot of like my sales skills and techniques for that reason, because if you can't sell someone, you can't help them. So like, if I can't talk to you in a convincing way to actually convince you to do something good for yourself, like I can't help you. So it's been something I've been trying to focus on, because I do feel like lost at times of like, work is not that important. Like, it's not going to be there in 10 years when your kid's graduating and can't like walk down the bleachers to go sit at the graduation. Like, you know, that's the part that it's hard to like drill into people's heads, because we're really big on longevity, like you guys as well, like probably even more so than the aesthetic side of things. Like, I just like to have those conversations with people around like, well, what do you want your future to look like? Do you want to take control of your health and do your hikes and do all your stuff when you're 90? Or do you want to have your kids taken care of you and live in like a nursing home? And the choice is really within our control.
Which is a crazy concept too, to think about it like that. I love that approach, because a lot of times when we're in those goal setting, you know, one-on-one consults, and you ask them like what their why is, What's your why? Like, why are you here? What made you walk in through the door? There has to be something. It's usually, oh, I'll get in shape, I want to lose weight. It's like, okay, everybody wants to do that. But like, there has to be something deeper that like clicked in your mind that said, oh, I need to go to the gym and I want to come here. It's usually they get referred by somebody, which we
Yeah.
get a lot. Other times it's, oh, I have a wedding and I have this and I have that. I'm like, okay, but like, what? You just want to get in shape for a wedding and then that's it, call it? Because that's where I feel like a lot of times people, they get to that point of that one goal and then they just fall off, which even it gets me more aggravated because I sit there like, okay, you're gonna have this wedding in 6 months. What's your plan after 6 months? Just going back to normal? You're gonna train your ass off for 6 months. You're gonna eat nothing, and then you're gonna get to the wedding weight that you want to because you want to fit in that dress. And then afterwards, like, screw it. I'm gonna go on my honeymoon. I'm gonna drink and eat everything I want. I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna cancel the gym. And I'm gonna just go on with my life and then go back to square one with that stuff. And I do train a lot of women now, like privately. I can train like little, I train these twin girls, and I train another girl now. They're all three of them are like 10. The two women that I train privately are postpartum, and which is like obviously two different roles. And with the little ones, especially with the twins, they both are two different, kids. And I remember when I was growing up, and again, I don't know if you could relate because I don't know really like truly like if you have like a fitness background, like story wise, like what kind of brought you. Obviously, I played sports too, just like yourself, but I was always like the chunkier kid, like growing up. Like it just became a thing, and I got really skinny going into high school when I was playing soccer because I just stayed playing soccer. And then, but I had no sense of food knowledge whatsoever. It was whatever that I liked. And at that time, being an athlete, you just burn so many calories in a day. So especially soccer, I think I was burning at least like over 1,000 calories. So me eating junk food, I didn't put on the weight because I was just burning it out. So in my mind at the age of 13 was, okay, postseason is now, from after, what is it, whatever, November or something like that. But they never emphasized strength training when I was growing up in high school. They did it for the softball team, but not for the soccer team. It's like, oh, like you guys just need to run. But there was no structure about that. And I wish there was somebody, obviously like a gym. Varsity House is far from where I was growing up, but there was nothing around that really helped in that capacity. So I still ate the same, but I was not exercising whatsoever. So I put on 70 pounds in like 6 months, which is very unhealthy. I was just eating like shit. So with these like little girls, one of them is very like self-conscious. The other one is like, okay. And it's almost like they're trying to compare one another, which are two different kids. And I'm sure girls especially in that age range, they always compare each other. She's talking about this with the last a couple episodes ago, when her and we were in the same high school, and you start seeing all these girls. It was all girls school, which is even worse because you're just surrounded by all these girls that could look better than you in your eyes, and you don't feel like you're at that level of wearing certain things and feeling confident in your own skin. I never felt like that, especially when I was at my lowest. So for me now, it's trying to teach these girls that are 10 and 11, like, hey, what's your food question of the day? Like, what do you have for me that I can help you out with? And I feel like it's helping a little bit. It's just like trying to build their healthy relationship with going to the gym and having them like actually love going to the gym versus actually hating it. And then also the nutrition side of it is like not making this toxic thing. If they want to go to a pizza party, I'm not gonna tell them like, no, don't go to a pizza party, but allow them to understand like, hey, like these are things that you can do, like have protein and have, these foods, and try to find like one food fact and you bring it back to me for the next session, and one food question that you have, like, why is this food, little kids ask like random questions all the time. But, I would love to hear your side of it because obviously women we're seeing different people, but with the kids, I don't know how many kids you really work with in that specificity. So you can kind of touch base on that. You could kind of bounce off of what I just said if you other.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's great. Like, I think it's really cool that you get to pass on those learnings like to the next generation coming up. Like, that must feel cool for you.
Oh, it feels great. Yeah. They just already yelled for the first time like yesterday. I got them to do it and they were like on point. I'm like, this is great. You guys are learning how to hinge. Where like some of these adults don't know how to hit at a hinge at all. So it's just teaching them things that they could actually take with them as they grow older. And I love, obviously, I speak to their parents all the time, but training the youth kids, I feel like just instilling, I think is the word, instilling just better habits for themselves. And that way, because I wish I had somebody at that age or going into high school to tell me what to do. I had no guidance whatsoever. They don't teach you nutrition in high school. I wish they did. They should, which is a whole separate topic of conversation. Yeah. But they teach us health. They have health class, which doesn't really touch base into nutrition that well. And then they have gym. It's like, okay, what about teaching kids how to portion control and understand like what they're actually putting into their bodies? And that way nobody has a really negative relationship with food, because I always had one growing up, and then now it's a lot better. Obviously you still have that back of your mind of, okay, don't eat that because you're going to gain weight, and it's that stigma back behind it of, if you overeat, you can't eat the next day, which used to, again, that was something I used to do all the time. That's that toxic mindset. Yeah. And I'm sure you've dealt with women that have gone through that too.
Yeah, I think like for me, so first of all, the quote that this is all reminding me of is, be the woman you needed as a girl. And that's exactly what you're doing, of like, I didn't have this, so I'm going to make sure anybody that I come across is like going to get this information and benefit from like all the stuff that I've learned. So I love that. I think that's amazing. We do like once a quarter, like I'll bring in a huge group of just beginner girls who have never stepped foot in the weight room before. It's new to them, like scary. We bring them in purposely all together as newbies, and we'll bring like a couple of the rookies from like, not the rookies, the vets from like previous programs, and bring them in. We'll do like a goal setting workshop. We'll talk a little on the nutrition side. Like I'll share my story with them. We'll teach them like some basic movements and stuff. But when it comes to the nutrition side, my personal story, I definitely didn't eat enough, especially like as a college athlete, and even not all the way like on purpose. I just didn't realize like the amount of fuel I needed to like actually have energy and be able to perform. Like I was just a college kid eating a granola bar, like, and thinking that's enough. So I'm really passionate about the nutrition side. That's like what I studied in school.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, I have my master's in nutrition and exercise science. So I try to bring that to the kids. I love how you're having them take ownership over like, come to me with a question that you have or like something that's on your mind. I think that's a great approach to get them just to be like, more thoughtful about it without getting too like restrictive or like obsessive or wanting it to be more about looks versus like, how do I feel? Am I able to do the sports that I love and like feel good doing it? And I do think like a lot of it is the example like of the parents. Like that's why I emphasize with the moms, if you show your daughter that you can block off and step away from work for an hour, like when she grows up, she's going to think that that's possible for her too. But if you're constantly pushing it off or pushing it away or saying you're too busy, like that's the example that she's going to see. So I try to remind them of that too, because I think that's like almost more powerful than anything.
Right. And that makes a huge difference for sure. And I love that you're doing that. I really want to do more of that with like the community. We tried to do a nutrition like seminar-y thing for the athletes, and I think only like 3 or 4 people showed up, 3 or 4 kids, and that was because their session was like prior to it, like right beforehand. So it was like they had to come because they had to be at the gym anyway. Yeah. So just emphasizing it more for the kids. So we're trying to figure it out. Alex, she runs more of the athlete stuff. I do like the youth kids, like depending on my schedule, but I do have like 4 youth kids that I actually train privately. But other than that, like I don't, and then 1 high school boy that I train, but nothing in that category of like training with the athletes, like fully in the groups. So there have been times where I've met with, athletes one-on-one for nutrition. And there's been a couple times where they're like, I get emotional. It's hard for me sometimes because I'll see myself in these girls. One time, one of the girls, she sat in with me. She was super shy. She did not want to. Her mom prompted me. We were on the phone for like 40 minutes. I was so like upset because I just took that personal because she was going through what I was going through. And I remember like her sitting in there. She just didn't want to like open up. And I'm sitting in the back of my mind, like, how am I going to open up to this girl? Like, how am I going to tell her, you can do it? And I remember opening up to her and telling her like, hey, it's just between you and me. you know, your mom's not in the room, there's nobody in the room, there's no cameras in here, there's nobody listening. So whatever you have to tell me, you can tell me. I understand that you're uncomfortable. This is something that's not in your comfort zone whatsoever. I'm like, you never met me before. I don't train you. I understand. I remember telling her about my story, and she like teared up, and she's like 15, and she's like, I've never met, and because she met with a nutritionist, I think 2 times prior to this one. And she was saying how those nutritionists, they didn't really have a story to tell
Mm,
about their own progress. It's just been, hey, you have to eat this, you can't eat this. And it's been more that harsh conversation. And she was like really upset. And she basically said, you know, I didn't know that you went through the same thing that I'm kind of going through. And I took that really hard because people in our field, that's what kind of frustrates me, not to go off topic too much, but you know, these women sometimes on social media or in our field, they don't really have a backstory. It's kind of just, oh, textbook by textbook. This is what we were taught, so we're just gonna go into it. And you know, they don't really have like a personality to them or
yeah.
like a background to really engage the clientele that they're really trying to work towards. So for me, having that story is obviously traumatic growing up and having that, but it helps me relate to women because it's just, hey, especially the girls. But that quote is great because that's kind of how I felt in that situation of, you know, I've been there. I went through the exact thing that you're going through. So
Mm,
how are we going to get you to where you want to be? And it is possible because I'm obviously on the 10 years or so older than her at that point. But looking at it from her perspective, her mom was so happy because she just called me after the fact. She's like, I don't know what you talked to her about, but you changed her whole perspective on everything.
mm,
And she ended up losing 20 pounds, and she was cooking her own meals. I gave her, you know, a list like, hey, what can you eat? What do you not like to eat? I'm not going to give you something you're not going to eat. I'm going to make recipes that you actually would enjoy, something that's super simple that you're not going to have to sit there and cook for hours and hours and hours. And
right.
her mom was like, I've never seen her so engaged in following something. She was so into it. And she did not shut up when she would come into the gym after she would talk to me, which is so like, it was rewarding at that point to have somebody like that go through something and her consistently training. You know, she was in the athlete group and training 4 days a week. She was playing volleyball, and she's not where she wants to be yet, but she's in a way better space than she was prior to, you know, meeting with me, which is always something that I take pride in. And but the mental health side of it is definitely important for those girls at that age. So it's important that you're especially meeting with them and doing those workshops and stuff. They don't really probably see it as value until the time comes where they sit there and they go, oh, okay, she actually taught me something that I can bring back home and understand that not everything on social media is as it is. You know, the stigma behind carbs and the stigma behind, you know, eating within a window, you know, certain things like that. Like, I don't know how your approach is with hearing those, I call them red flags, but hearing them out loud to these women, like, how do you direct that conversation off of it? Like, how do you tell them, like, hey, that's not correct, don't follow along with that? Because you don't want to be like, oh, you're wrong, you're wrong. But in
Yeah.
other words, it's like, you know, these women have been doing this over and over and over again. It's not working. So how do you really approach it on that side? Like, hey, carbs are not bad for you. You know, protein's actually really good for you. Don't overeat protein. Like, what's your strategy with the nutrition side of that?
Yeah. Oh, that's a great question. It is like a case by case basis, right? Like, and I do think it's the rapport, like how you were able to connect with that girl and she could see herself in you, especially at an age that you really feel alone. You're like, I'm going through this myself, a lot of the mental health stuff going on. So that's huge. I would say what I like to do is probably just facts around what I've seen work, right? I bring a lot of the science in because that's kind of like my background and like what I like to say and show. And there's so much information out there geared specifically towards men. Like, I know you brought up the fasting earlier, and I'm like, yes, we hear a lot of these like health and longevity experts talk about fasting, but it's all based on men and like studies done on men. So here's what actually works for women. So I use that a lot in conversations of like personalizing it to women. And a lot of the times the things they're telling me are maybe more geared towards men or just in general. Well, let's break down like your specific situation and what your goals are, because nutrition is so like bio individual. Like, yeah, there's principles that we can all follow like in general that are good for the most part, but let's dig a little bit deeper here. Asking questions, how do you feel when like you stay away from carbs, you don't eat a lot of carbs? Like, how are your energy levels? How's your sleep? Let's try to get you to a place where you're moving in the right direction, but you actually like feel good doing it, type of thing.
Do you approach women differently that are going through like hormonal imbalances?
Yeah, definitely. Because that's definitely a huge factor. Like, I do work with a lot of perimenopausal, menopausal women as well. I like to do a lot of research on like those areas specifically, and people that I like to learn from. Like, I love Dr. Vonda Wright. I'm obsessed with her right now. Like,
Yeah.
her work is so good. Like, everything she puts out, I'm like, yes. And she's like doing research on the front lines specifically for like menopausal women. So I follow a lot of her work. I really like Dr. Stacy Sims. She's awesome. Like, there's so many women in the field, I feel like, giving the path that we can work, like learn from, and then pass it along to boots on the ground people that we're working with who like just aren't getting this information as easily in a digestible way. It comes to women with hormonal things going on specifically, like I like to take a deeper dive into things like outside of fitness.
Yeah.
Even outside of nutrition, like sleep is huge for people, recovery is huge. Like, most people aren't sleeping enough, so like we'll dive into some of those factors as well and just figure out like what's going on there.
Do you feel like you found an approach that's works for women that want to lose weight, that are going through all those issues? You like, what's your number one strategy when you speak to those women?
I think on the fitness side, magic formula is coming in 2 or 3 days a week for the structured strength training, getting as much movement, low intensity as possible outside of the gyms, getting the steps in consistently every day. Within our workouts, we have them do kind of like their sprint like bursts. So they'll always do like a minute or less of like almost a 90% like intensity sprint. So that's really great for women. We're really big on that on the fitness side. I've seen that kind of check the boxes when it comes to like hormonal issues with women and like their bodies maybe not being as responsive to like more stressful exercise approaches. Then on the nutrition side, we can take a deep dive and do labs. I haven't done that as much with my clients at 3&D. Like, I've worked with another guy outside of 3&D who did that with like executives and stuff, where we would actually do like a Dutch test and see like what's actually going on with your hormones. What are your levels like? I've been actually even referring women lately to like hormone replacement therapies and things, because I've seen women have a lot of success with that. And that's obviously not my scope. Like, they have to work with a practitioner for that. I've seen a lot of women benefit from that.
I never really thought about it. I know I'm doing a lot of research when it comes to that, and I love, obviously I'm going to look up those people who are done with this conversation, but yeah. I like reading into that stuff because I feel like it's getting more spoken about more than it ever has been in the last couple of years. Like, I feel like it's just definitely have gotten up into more awareness on strength training and menopause and why it benefits people, especially women, and so forth and so on. What's a good question for you with the women that you train? What's your program structure look like? Like, do you guys go through a 6-day template? Do you guys go through, is it personalized depending on the person? Like, what's your approach on that aspect with how you program the women that you train?
When it comes to the programming, so we do work in cycles. The cycles are typically like 8-week cycles.
Okay.
And then within the program itself, we'll modify and change things based on the person, based on like injuries, actually within the session itself. So like the coach is aware and they'll kind of like tweak things and change it and like swap movements in and out and that sort of approach. What do you guys do? I'm curious.
It really depends. We, for the most part, we do like a 6-day template. So it's like 4-week block. So we'll go, the athletes are different, but with us, it's basically, we try to do like every day. So like a 6-day a week template. So depending on the day that the client comes in, that'll be the workout of the day. But we switched that over. It's been like a year. I don't even think it's been a year yet. I think we just switched it over probably like closest to a year, I would say. But there are specific people that still have their own programming. It just, the people that have been there for 5+ years that have been getting customized programming, they're just in that constant cadence, and they could train hard. So it's easier for us to navigate and program people that way. We still have the autonomy to make our own like style of training with certain people. I know there's like a couple of guys, ironically, that I have on my True Coach, because that's what we use, that can train hard, like more than a lot of men over the age of say like 40 to 50 plus, because there's some of them that have a shitload of issues, shoulder issue, hip issue, neck issue, back issue, you name it. So we have to modify things. I do train a guy that's a couple years older than me, and it's been super cool because I'm able to pretty much do whatever I want to him and and beat his ass whenever I want to. So
Yeah.
it's to be able to program him almost like athletically, because he still plays hockey too. So it's cool. Like he does pick up hockey, play whatever the case may be. And there's another guy that he's in SWAT and he's a cop. So it's for him, like he could train hard too. So I do have that side of it. And there's another side where I have women that just gave birth that can't really, they don't know where their core and their pelvic floor is at the moment. So teaching them how to build their core back up and their pelvic floor and everything, that's been pretty much a primary source for me. And that's all the women that have been coming to me lately. So giving them different exercises to do either during class, after the session, different movements. There's a woman that just gave birth, I think like 2 weeks ago, and she didn't stop coming till I think a week before. And I was like, hey, like, I'm not trying to deliver your child in this gym. So you got to take a hike, figure it out. There was one lady, actually, she was on her way to the gym last year, and she called me. She's like, hey, I think I'm in labor. I'm like, hey,
no way.
I was like, do not come into this building. I will literally not. I'm not gonna take you. There's no way. But
I really don't want to miss my session, but
like you're like maybe I'm a little dilated. Okay, go to the hospital to get out of this place. There's no way. But it's those women are training to the point where the other women that are in there, say like their 50s and 60s, are seeing these pregnant women that are almost 6 weeks due. And they'll go up to them and say like, wow, I wish I was trained. I trained when I was pregnant with my kids. Like you're amazing. I don't know how you do it, but they don't realize how much it benefits them, especially in that world, like trying to train, because that's a whole other stigma too. Like, don't train when you're pregnant. You have to take a break. You can't work. You can't weightlift when you're pregnant. It's insane how many different things that are out there on the internet. And then you see the other half that's like, there's a woman that's deadlifting and squatting and benching and with no issues whatsoever, and she had a healthy pregnancy. So that's where I try to tell women, like, hey, you can still work out. Like, you should be working out when you're pregnant. Obviously, there's certain movements that you shouldn't be doing at a certain point, but there's a lot of times where everybody's usually fine. They could be on their back to a certain capacity. They can do a class, like a large group class, and not feel that they can't do anything. It's just modifying certain things. And with the programming too, when it comes to the bigger group classes, because that's what I primarily do, I go like pretty much week by week. So we don't really do like a structure based around like a progression or with that. It's more, hey, people want to get a sweat on. What would benefit the class for today? So I do Monday, Wednesday, Fridays. But with the training stuff, we definitely still customize it. It's just we do a lot of full body-ish days. So like sometimes it'll be like primary upper body day, but we'll mix in lower body. And then we'll do like a finisher at the end that'll be like primarily upper body, and then vice versa. It'll go the other way around. It'll be lower body primary, and then supplemental stuff will be a little bit lower body, just targeting different movements. And then it'll be an upper body pump at the end, just like something to kind of for them to understand that, hey, you're doing everything, but you're focusing primarily on like the main like A block, which could be like a squat or a deadlift or whatever they're really doing for the day. But it's, you guys do 8 weeks, we do 4. So that's how we kind of do it. Like every month, it's pretty much the programming changes. Adam handles the main template, and then it's our jobs to pretty much whoever's under us on our programming. I have like 41 people now, but 41 people, all that have different issues. So, I can't just copy and paste anything, which I'm sure you guys can't either. It's more just you have to modify things depending on the person, and especially in a small group setting. Our small groups are 1 to 7. So there's a lot of times it could be 2 people or it could be 8 people because somebody will show up. That's a whole other thing too. But just like the programming itself, not making it seem that everybody's doing the same thing. Because in a way, sometimes it'll look that way, but other times, somebody can't do an overhead press. I have to modify it to something else, which I'm
Right.
sure you've come down to that too in the console. These women sometimes are like, oh, I can't do this movement, so I just can't do anything. We can modify things for you. What are you talking about? Like,
Exactly.
dude, it just blows my mind that they think, oh, I have a shoulder issue. I can't do anything with my upper body. It's like, no, you can still do things. Just gotta work around it. I'm not gonna tell you, no, you can't do something. Like, oh, let's just move on. You can't do a push-up. I'm not coaching you. Like, move on. I
Right.
feel like that's so shitty.
I know. How do you navigate when the person has their first either moment of like maybe soreness, but they don't realize it's just soreness and not pain, or they tweak their back a little bit, which inevitably happens when you go
Right.
from like being sedentary to actually following a routine? How do you navigate that?
I feel like it just pisses me off so much. They're like, oh, like I'm in so much pain. Like, are you sore or are you in pain? And they're like, oh, I don't know. It's just like, I'm like, yeah, you're sore. You didn't hurt yourself. It's such a weird thing because some people have never felt soreness before. Like, oh, I can't move. Like I got like a text at one time. This guy never did lower body in his life. He just made a comment about it. He's like, oh, I don't do lower body. I remember during the warm up we did squats and lunges, and he was like, I can't. The next day, he's like, I texted me like, I can't move. I'm like, dude, you haven't squatted or lunged probably since you were like 10 years old, and you're 30.
Yep.
Obviously your body's like, what the hell are you doing? You probably get sore by walking. So it's just movements like that. But explaining it to them in a way that doesn't sound passive aggressive, like, hey, you're probably just sore, making sure that they understand the difference between pain and soreness. We are doing a class. One of the new coaches that got hired, he's like really good at that stuff. Like I'm not specialized in, chiropractor-ish based things. Like he's really, really good at that stuff.
Yeah.
And we all decided that it would probably be great for him to integrate into the community a little bit more, under having him do like a workshop where, he teaches people actually how to foam roll, because people just think that you just foam roll, especially the adults. The adults cannot. I've seen like the weirdest things for foam rolling. I don't even go near it. I'm like, I'm not gonna do this. Then navigating their pain. So he made a whole presentation on it. Like, oh, like if you experience these symptoms, what the difference between soreness and pain actually is, which is super cool because we never really done anything like that. So I've been talking about it. We're going to do it next month, but all these clients their ears kind of peak up and they're like, oh, what do you mean? I'm like, oh no, he's going to do it. Like, I want you guys to understand what the difference between pain and soreness is. There's not a lot of people that can really target it or navigate it. There is a couple people that tweak their back from doing like anything in our gym. I mean, it could be an RDL that has like 15-pound dumbbells in it. The guy could be wrong and then mess up his back for like a couple of days. Yeah. They could have weak lower backs, which, coming down to it, we try our best to, it's hard. Like, you don't want to make them feel like they can't do something either. So especially the women, because I'm like, okay, you can't do a push-up, your ass is up in the air. How am I going to do this to tell them? Because you probably get it too. Women want to do a real push-up, but they can't do a real push-up. So it's like, okay, they're doing either like a quarter of it, or they're like plopping their whole body down. Their lower back is like a curve.
Right.
And no matter how many times I say it, it's just something. But the one cue, which you'll probably laugh, what I've been saying in classes, which has been working, I'm like, don't hump the floor. And everybody's laughing. They all start laughing at me. I'm like, okay, you're laughing, but you guys do it.
Right. Like, that's what it looks like from me coaching and watching you. Like,
I'm like, I literally see you guys humping the floor. Like, be real. But, and like coaching a kettlebell swing, I'm like, I want you to actually hump the air. That's what I want you to do. But when it comes to the push-up, I don't want you to hump the floor. I want you to actually like go down all the way up, which has been working. That's why I feel like, we all have like a scientific background as coaches, but it could just be like something so stupid that they'll remember. And now everybody that does a push-up, that's all they're thinking about. And they all say it in other sessions too. They're like, oh, Steph told me not to hump the floor. I remember that somebody said that to Mike, and Mike came up to me after. He's like, why would you say that? I'm like, well, it worked. And he was like, okay, fair. It did work. I'm like, yeah, well, you've said something super ridiculous too at one point in your life. You're like coaching here for 16 years. Like, no, you're right. I just never thought about it like that. But it keeps people more conscious of not feeling it in their backs. They feel it in their chest and their core and certain movements like that. So it's just coming down to really explaining things thoroughly. And I don't know if you guys offer large group classes. I don't know what the structure is. So like
No.
sometimes like 25 people that I have, and I'm like the only one coaching in those bigger group classes. So sometimes like I have to make sure that I'm around everybody to know if I write a station and I know it's movements that they're probably not familiar with or they can't do correct, like I try my best to stay at that station, but I also don't want to like neglect the other stations that are on the other side too.
Right.
So, but in those smaller group settings, for me, it's just telling them like, hey, if you feel like a pinch pain or you feel like like a spike of pain, okay, that maybe not be soreness. That may just be, you did something, you tweaked it, but it's nothing to be afraid of. And then if it's like achiness, dude, you're sore. You're sore. Like your butt, like, oh, I've never felt like this before, I'm like, yeah, you did 100 tricep push downs yesterday. Obviously, you're gonna be a little bit sore. So
Yep.
I think trying to make like fun out of it without them feeling nervous about injuring themselves, especially when it comes to like the first consult. If we get frozen shoulder all the time.
Right.
These women that are going through menopause, it's like frozen shoulder through and through. Like some people, like there's some women that can't even like go up to this point with their arm. It's like, okay, like what can we do to loosen that up? But they're afraid to do anything.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of women in my classes as well. Like they can't do those shoulder tap push-up stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And today I did something like that, but I set up the racks for like a rack push-up. So the one woman wasn't gonna do it. I'm like, no, go over there. I'm like, I know you could do a rack push-up. Go over there and do it. And she's like, you're always thinking of me. I'm like, yeah, no shit. Because I don't want them to not do anything that's, I don't want them to feel like they can't do something either. I'm like, sure, I could have never been able to do a push-up until I actually started training enough to where you're just practicing it all the time. And now I could do push-ups. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, that's the value of having a coach and having someone to not only push you, but to actually think ahead of like, all right, what's the alternative that you can do here, right? Like there's always something that we can do. And even if your back is like kind of hurting you and painful, what's the alternative? If you just sit at
Right.
home, sit on the couch, sit at your desk with poor posture all day at work, if anything, it's only going to get worse. So 6 months down the line, you're going to be feeling worse instead of better versus if you kind of work through it and keep moving and getting stronger, like suddenly every time you reach down to like grab your dog's leash, your back doesn't hurt suddenly.
Right.
So it's just like, that's another thing too, of like the constant, we have these same conversations like over and over of just reminding people
It's
of
competitive,
stuff.
and you can't even be mad about it because it's like, I can't, that's your job. You have to be on point and understand like people don't get it. This is not their thing, and Dan said something the other day and it stuck to me too. Like, I'm sure you've had like people like some things that you've heard and you're like, okay, this has stuck with me. For him, it's like you could have worked 12 hours. You could have like the shittiest 12 hours of your life. But that one client, that comes in or whoever that you have, they're only there for an hour. They don't care whatever happened with you.
Yeah.
So how, for you, like approaching it in that way, I feel like that changed my perspective a lot because I don't really take a lot of stuff like personally to go to work. Like I try my best to like keep it outside of it, even though people are super nosy at the gym. Like they want to know everything about my life. And I'm very open and friendly with everybody. And that's part of my role as like a community manager too, making sure that everybody's happy and they're comfortable and they understand that like, we're here for them if they need anything, which is part of the reason why the attrition is low. It's just trying to make sure that everybody's happy and getting what they're asking for from us as coaches. But I think that stuck by me too, because I could have the worst day, but it's not the client's fault.
Yeah.
They're only here for an hour. So you have to make their day, that hour, the best day, not make your day any better. Like it's already shitty. So like, why are you going to make it shitty on the other person? So I thought that was a cool topic of something that like stuck by me. But is there something that like a client or a coach has ever said to you that like stuck with you besides like what you said before? Is there something that you heard from a client that's like, I will never forget that?
I would say like something that I can think of, and it's always just like client stories, right? Like there was this woman who, I make a lot of calls. I'm always calling people, following up. And, sometimes people are really grumpy and mean on the phone, but like this woman just answered. She was so bright, chipper, like, thank you so much for calling me, like reaching out. I'm like, oh, this lady's so nice. Like, I got to get her in here. So bring her in, meet with her, and really like just didn't have like, she couldn't make it happen like from a budget standpoint. So you know, we figured something out, got her in, and she was just at this point, like, she had lost her husband of like over 20 years. She was just going back and forth, work to home, work to home. That was it. I'm like, I know I'm going to be able to help her, like, just totally change her life. So it was actually recently she came up to me, like, she's been dating again, like she's getting back into theater, which was like a goal for her when we first talked. And she said a line, she's like, wow, this place really does give you more confidence. And I'm like, and it's like, and it's like those stories where you're just, damn, like, it's not even about the losing weight. Like, it's so much bigger than that. And just having an impact on someone's life, they now are just doing things again and like going out and like living their life and having fun and enjoying themselves after going through like such a difficult period of life.
Right.
To me, I'm like, if I can do that and continue to grow a brand and like a space that allows for those types of things to happen, don't feel like I'm even working, because it's just so gratifying to be able to do that.
Like, how did you create that space for women to feel safe and heard? It's not just the training, like they're obviously coming because of the community. Like, what made you, how did you build that?
Us standing for like certain core values that we believe in. Like, core values are like accountability, legacy, authenticity, growth mindset, and just not only hiring staff that also like align with that, but just making sure every person we bring in like aligns with that. I'm meeting with people and I'm like, oh, you're going to be like a great fit for this space and this gym. And since it is so small, we don't need to have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people in and out of our space. So it's kind of cool that we just attract other like-minded people that already go there. But I guess from the get-go, it was just thinking, who can I help? How can I speak to that person? How can I put out content that speaks to pain points I keep hearing from them so that I can reach them and they can hear my message? And I know I'm doing it right when they call me or we get on a phone conversation and I'm like, what made you interested? And they're like, well, I heard you work with women over 40 and you help them get stronger, build muscle. And yes, yes, yes. Like, that's what we do. Being really clear with the message and who we help and who we want to be in the space type of thing. And it's grown from there, and just being able to deliver on that too. We just do month-to-month memberships. We don't do long-term contracts because I'm too, like, to get you results and make sure you're feeling like you're getting that support. So I think just delivering an exceptional experience makes people want to come back, invite their friends to come too.
Yeah, yeah, your content's awesome. I love your content. I was like, I love looking at it. I'm like, oh damn, she's killing it. Her voiceover, then her videos with your mic on and stuff. It's like,
shout out to Simmons Media, who we
Simmons
both
Media.
work with.
Hell yeah.
They got the editing down. It's so good.
I love them. I love them. I'm actually going to see them in a couple of weeks. I'm going to go down to Westchester. I'm going to go to their studio and stuff like that.
Oh,
I love hanging out with them.
Studio. Yeah.
Yeah. I love, honestly, the way that they push out content for everybody is super effective. So anybody that's listening to this, they need content people. Matt Simmons is your good.
Yes. I 100% recommend. 100%. It just is nice to like unload that to the experts and have them do what they're best at, and then you just show up and take the just talk in front of the camera. It's great.
100%. Well, last question. I have another one, basically to tie everything back in. What's the hardest part about coaching women in today's generation? Like, what do you feel like you see, especially because obviously the social media piece ties into it, but what do you feel like is the hardest part? I
think the hardest part is we have so many like driven women who are amazing leaders. And I feel like they feel the need to do that in their careers, and they feel like they have to push to be these amazing leaders that they are. I've worked with like one lady runs a community center for kids in downtown Wilmington. You know, just these amazing women who are doing so much for the community, and it's just tough to get them to frame that mindset to themselves. Right. So that's the biggest struggle that makes it so tough, because I'm like, my job is to help you to be able to keep doing all those incredible things that you're doing at a very, very high level, because at some point, I don't want you to crash and burn out and not be able to deliver on that anymore. So that's just where I come in to be like the crazy accountability lady that just follows up with people a million times and like, hey, it's me texting you again. Like, when are you going to come back in? And
right.
Luckily, a lot of times people are very responsive to that. They're like, oh, thanks, life is crazy. But it definitely was tough at first to feel comfortable hitting people up a million times and not feeling like awkward about it or, oh, I'm bothering people. but just knowing like, all right, everybody's busy, like, and they just appreciate someone actually reaching out and caring about them.
Yeah, I love that. I feel like that's also a big thing too, especially for us as coaches, just having that tie, like, hey, somebody actually cares about me, checking up on me, making sure that I'm okay. Why I haven't been in the gym. Like these bigger box gyms don't really have that, like they don't, I could not go to the gym for 6 months. As long as I'm paying the bill, they don't really care about you. Like I want people to understand, like if you're missing for 2 weeks, I will be personally calling you and texting you, understanding like where have you been. Somebody cancels a session, it's like, hey, like is everything okay? And they know. Then it's come to the point now where people will text me and let me know that they're not gonna make it, so they don't get a text from me.
Yeah.
But I gotten to that point in this,
Trains everybody
because they know they'll get grilled the second they like this. The one of the guys this morning, actually, there's like 25 people in the 6 a.m. class that I had this morning, and he canceled on me at, I think it was Monday. I'm like, dude, like you just didn't show up to your session, like you just thought you couldn't come. He's like, oh, dude, don't get me started, and everybody's like laughing. I'm like, you're in the hot seat. Why didn't you show up? Because everybody knows like who comes to those sessions now, so it's cool, like building that community within the community itself. These people don't. This every Wednesday now, I've been doing like grab a buddy like workout for the VFit, which is our like bigger group classes. Yeah. And it was like week 3 of me doing it, and I pair people up that they really either they work with each other all the time and they know they will not get separated, and there's other people that have never worked with them a day in their life, and yes. I'm trying to integrate them so they could be comfortable. I have these 3 women, they come to 6 a.m. and they call themselves like the 3 Musketeers. Like now they exchange numbers, they do all this other stuff. There's another group of women, there's a mom, a daughter, which obviously the mom was the one that I was saying that her weight loss journey. So her daughter and her mom's sister, they all made friends with like these other side of women, which are, there's like 4 or 5 other than they went on a mud run this past
that's amazing.
And they're like in their 60s. Like some of them, obviously the daughter's not, but yeah. She's my age. But it's them, and then there's like the 35-year-old women that came, and then it's like they're all in their 60s. They did what they can. They had a blast. They like made their own varsity house, like hot pink t-shirts, and they did it for breast cancer awareness. And I thought that was like super cute. It's like that's the shit that I love seeing, because I'm trying to build that. We have the community, but building those like little sub communities that people hang out outside of the gym. So it's super cool for me to have that tied into it, especially for the women, just like making them actually feel comfortable coming to the gym. It's such an intimidating space for a lot of people. It's not comfortable. That's not what they're used to. So how do we get them to feel more comfortable coming into the space, which I feel like I have a good tie in when it comes to women that have never worked out before. Like, oh, I'm nervous. That was the first thing I always ask them, like, hey, are you nervous? Just like to poke fun at it, but they are. Yes. And by the end of it, I'm like, hey, are you nervous? Like, are you still nervous? They're like, no. Okay. That's exactly what I wanted. That means I did my job. Exactly what I wanted to do. So I think for you, if this is the last question I wanted to ask you, if a new person is listening on the phone that's over 40, that's never worked out, what's that one piece of advice you would give them? If they've never worked out, they're lost in their training and their nutrition, they're going through all these like hormonal imbalances, like what's the one advice that you would give to that population that's listening right now?
I would say probably 2 things. I would say first, you have to remember your why. I know I'm terrible.
All the things, actually. It's not has to be one.
Can't do one.
Things.
I think it's like, remember your why. Like, why does this matter? For a lot of moms, it's like their kids, right? They want to be able to, if they have little kids, pick them up. If they have older kids, be there for big events in their future. So what's your why? And then number 2, ask for help. You're not going to be able to do it on your own. I'm a coach. I've been doing this for God knows how many years, and I still need a coach. I need somebody to tell me what to do, because I'm a busy woman and I don't have extra time always to like plan my workout and like do all that goes into it to like make it a good experience. Don't be afraid or lost to ask for help, and be willing to invest in yourself too, right? Because like, we're not a big box gym that it costs $20 to just walk in and swipe your card and maybe never come back because you're confused and don't know what to do. I think taking a proactive and preventative approach to your health is, I'm going to invest in something that is going to reduce my medical bills in the future, and I'm going to eat healthier because I want to live a better life. Like, I think it's shifting the mentality away from scarcity to abundance. Like, I'm doing something good for myself, and it's like worth it, whatever it is, type of thing. So that's probably the biggest thing. That's 3 things, I think, Steph.
Yeah, I love it. You targeted it right on the dot. You're so good.
Well, I do have a question for you too. So, how do you think as women in a space where there's not as many of us in the strength and conditioning world, like how can we better support each other?
Well, that's part of the reason why I wanted to get on the phone with you, because I feel like you are not in like a weird, like not in a way that's like weird, but you're like low key. Like nobody really, like I met you just recently, like what, November? Like I didn't even know that you existed. Like I knew you were part of the group, but I didn't know who you were because we never really met. And a lot of times, you know, I've been seeing, I work, it's just me and Alex, say at like Orangeburg in our like head facility, and it's all dudes. We have 6 interns. There's 2 girls. So it's like nice to have that capacity to do that stuff. Oradell, for the year that it was open, that's been open, it was constantly guys. Like there was no woman that was in there. Now there's gonna be a woman trainer that's starting in 2 weeks. And I feel like a lot of times for women, especially in this industry, it's harder for us to connect because it's always a competition for a lot of things. And finding a space, which is part of the reason too why I wanted to create a space as like far as the podcast goes, it's not something to be basic like every other podcast is. It's more to just give people a space to talk about what they do and what they've overcome. And this is a primarily like a women's episode, basically, of just understanding who you are, like where can people find you with training, trying to yourself and like market yourself almost to doing stuff like this. And I always want to help women, and I always say that I think every BOS event too, there's no guys there's no women in the BOS like high up there. That's why me and Alex really try our best to get to these events, because when we went to Arizona, there wasn't really a lot of women that went to Arizona. So you kind of just sit there and going like, do women not want to train because it's a men primarily only type of job in a sense? Or is it just because they're scared of like going into the space and not understanding if they can really blend or fit in? I never really felt like that because I was always used to working with guys all the time. And I did retail supplements for 5 years before I started doing this. I worked at a big box gym for 2 months. I hated it. I hated every second of it. Did not want to go back. And I was so nervous about starting at Varsity House because I thought it was going to be like that. And I needed an internship. I didn't know how else to do it. I was like, I have to do it. And going into it, I was so nervous because it was so many guys. I'm like, okay, I'm trying to compare myself to all these dudes when they're just telling me just to be myself, which we don't really get to hear that a lot. You know, I'm very big on like imposter syndrome with me, and Steve and Mike talked about this in the last episode. You know, we have a tendency to compare one another, not from me to them, but it's more just you see what other coaches are doing and you try to replicate it when, you know, just do your own thing. Just be who you are. If I could benefit anybody, if I could help any woman, that means I'm doing my job right. You're just trying to, you know, I took a lot of lack of better term, took a lot of shit from you today that I can definitely apply. And I hope that you took something from me, but it's just friendly conversation, making sure that you understand, like ask questions. Like I never had anybody to ask questions to growing up. Mm-hmm. So having the space to allow other people to feel comfortable enough to come to me to ask questions, even though I get nervous with like 60, 70 people staring at me. But if I could get my point across and have people feel more comfortable to reach out to me and speak to me, I feel like I'm doing my job right in that sense. And it definitely is a stigma too with women in this industry of like, there's not really a lot of us. So how do we stick together and make sure that we're bringing us up versus trying to tear one person down just to come back up the ladder, which I feel like I see all the time on social media. It's like, oh, don't do this, do this. Like, don't be like this woman, be like me. It's like, you're posting the same content. It's like, okay, if you're gonna, don't bash me just because my content's doing, say, quote unquote, better than yours. I will promote whoever I have to. That's just how I am as a person. I always promote you because I know that you're coming from a good place, and whoever's in the area, which I could obviously segue to the closeout, but you know, people that are in your area, I want you to be able to have this space, be like, hey, this is where my 2 gyms are at. Like, feel free to come by and train. And if I get one person out of it, that I did something for you. You know, if anybody moves to your area, you're the first gym I'm thinking of. So that's just how I am. And like we connected, like you said in the beginning of this, like we connected super well in the beginning. You just came up to me while I was coaching. You're like, dude, like, I love your energy. I'm like, oh, thanks. Just kind of went into it. And then I remember Joe and Dan were like, did you know who that was? I'm like, no. I met you and your husband, and that was it. I just like talked to you guys. But that's the approach that I want. Like I want people that I don't know to come up to me and feel comfortable enough to come up to me, not feel like I'm intimidating, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think you're a great communicator and a great connector and like relationship person. And I love what you're doing. I think it's great. And I totally agree with you. I just not seeing maybe as many women in the industry. Like when we do come across each other, we gotta like stick together and just like
Yeah.
learn as much as we can from each other so that we're like continuing to build each other up. And I think the more that younger women see us in the field, the more they'll realize, oh, I can go down that path versus like, I don't have to go like to PT school or be an athletic trainer because there's a lot of women in that industry
Right.
versus like, oh, I can get into strength training because we're serving so many women. A lot of the people we work with are women. So it just makes sense that like we would have more women, coaches as well. So
Eventually, we'll get there eventually. I would love, obviously, thank you so much for even taking the time to do this. I'm really appreciative of you and your busy schedule to take the time to do this with me because I value your opinion and your insight on different things and also our friendship too, because obviously I love following you and hopefully get to see you in person soon eventually.
yeah.
But to kind of close out, like where can people find you on social media and your gym and, talk to everybody through kind of what you offer and we could close it out from there.
Sure, sounds good. Okay, so my personal Instagram is raise the bar, so RAYS.the.bar, which is like a play on my name because Rachel's spelled with a Y, so it's a little different. And I do cross post a lot of just like women's health, educational like content and things like that. I like to take deep dives on stuff. Simmons helps me get it into a nice, pretty video. But gym is called 3D Personal Training. We're located in Wilmington, Delaware. So anybody in the Delaware area, like we're here for you. Just find us on social media, 3D Personal Training, and check us out there.
You won't regret it. You won't regret it. She's the best. You're awesome. Thank you so much again. And thank you for everybody for listening and looking forward to the next episode. So I'll see you guys then. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thanks.